Okay, hello everybody, and this is Tuesday, and we're talking about the digestive system. As we all know, food looks a whole lot different when it goes in than when it comes out, and there's a big reason for that, a very strong process that happens to food. The reason we have to digest food is because digestion breaks down food into molecules that your body can use, and those are called nutrients. And your cells use all this good stuff and they reject the waste in the body. So the digestive system has a lot of different parts to it. One thing I want you to realize, and here are the notes, I think they'll all fit in there, is that digestion does begin in the mouth. So many times you're asked questions about that, and that is where it begins because your teeth and saliva break down food. There's some mechanical digestion there because your teeth are actually breaking up the food, and then it gets into chemical because the saliva can start breaking it down. Food travels through the esophagus. Now, the esophagus is that long, slender tube that you see there. Now, this picture can be a little misleading because actually, if you were looking at all the systems together, the trachea in the respiratory system would be in front of the esophagus. The trachea is, where it takes in air, and the esophagus is the tube that takes in the food. So that's something that sometimes students get that confused. So when the food goes down the esophagus, you have smooth muscles in there to move the food down into the stomach. And then also your liver and pancreas, they are not a big player a lot of times whenever you watch videos about digestion, things like that. They just may mention them. They are like accessory organs in the digestive system because they contribute to giving juices to break down the food. So they play an important role, but a lot of times, they may not be the main ones that you think about, such as the stomach and the intestines with the digestive system. So after these juices mix and the stomach churns, because it's also muscle, it churns and breaks down this food, it is turned into what they call chyme, and that is just a slushy mixture. It has to be mixed up very well because next it goes to the small intestines, and that's where the nutrients are absorbed and go all over your body. What is left, what's not absorbed and used by the body, goes into the large intestine where water is absorbed in there, sort of dries it out a little bit. And we also know, we all know what's left then. What's left goes to the rectum and leaves through the anus, and it leaves our body and is flushed down the commode. One question I always usually get, and that is usually, I don't see a real clear picture of it, is right here, the appendix. You can see that really small line there. It goes to that arrow. A lot of times people will ask about the appendix. They don't really know that it has a purpose, but sometimes bacteria does get contained or get trapped in the appendix, and that's why people have to have their appendix removed. But I usually get that question whenever I'm teaching the digestive system. Another question I get is when we talk about the digestive system and the esophagus, they talk about the trachea being in front of the esophagus and what happens if food goes in the trachea. Well, right above the trachea, there is a little flap that opens and closes called the epiglottis, and that keeps food from going down in the trachea. Now, sometimes if we're talking and laughing, food can accidentally go down the wrong pipe, as we say, and could go down the trachea, but we usually cough it up. However, it could be if you had a little piece of food that got down in there or something in your lungs, sometimes that could cause something like pneumonia, and that's dangerous. So that's why we always say don't talk with your mouth full. Not that we want to just nag you about things, but which it doesn't look too good, but we also want you to be safe and make sure the food doesn't go down into your lungs instead of your stomach. So that is it with the digestive system, and I hope you could have put it on pause so you could get these notes written down, and you also have your vocabulary to use. If you have any questions, remember to please always email me.